Hello and welcome to the Arise interview, where we take time to reflect on the big stories from the news and on the fortunes and affairs of the world in an hour of conversation with commentators, analysts and thought leaders. I'm Charles Anyagolo. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, as pharmaceutical research and development in Africa generally continues to exhibit the worst performance in the world, with very little local drug production and more than 80% reliance on imports, we ask whether the coronavirus pandemic will be the defining moment and the turning point in the fight to improve pharmaceutical R&D in Nigeria. We'll speak to the chairman of the board of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development coming up. And later, it's supposed to be a time of great political and democratic hope for Niger, the first time that one democratically elected president will be handing over to another democratically elected president. But all that has been overshadowed by a series of deadly attacks in western Niger, in which nearly 200 civilians have been massacred in the last fortnight. The violence is part of a wider crisis fueled by militants linked to Al-Qaeda, Islamic State and other insurgent groups. We'll try to get our heads around this latest bloodbath happening on Nigeria's doorstep. Coming up. Now, according to all the indices, pharmaceutical research and development in Africa exhibits the worst performance in the world, with few countries on the continent able to spend the $40 a year per person that the WHO considers the minimum for basic health care. This would obviously have been greatly improved by pharmaceutical research and development as well as local drug production. But Africa, and by extension Nigeria, have an exceedingly long way to go. Fewer than 40 out of the 54 African countries have some level of pharmaceutical production, with most relying on imports. Well, Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research, NIPRD, is trying to change this by drawing attention to the need to improve local medicinal research and production, especially in the wake of COVID-19. It's developed a new immune-boosting drug known as Niprimune, which it says has shown remarkable success in animal tests. Well, for more of this, I'm joined now in the studio by the chairman of the board of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, or NIPRD, Dr. John Alfa. Thank you, Dr. Alfa, for coming in.
Thank you, Charles, for having me here.
We appreciate the time that you've taken, because I know you had a lot of things to do and you cancelled some of them in order to be here. So we are deeply appreciative of your efforts. And you sent me a brief on this new drug, and I couldn't make head or tail of it because I'm obviously not a scientist, nor am I a doctor. So tell us about this new and exciting breakthrough at NIPRD regarding ways of strengthening the immune system against viruses.
Thank you once again for having me here. I go straight to the point. Niprimune is a product that has been developed from Andrographis paniculata.
Okay, we know what that means, don't we?
It's a plant that is indigenous to India, Sri Lanka, and some Asian countries.
So it's not actually indigenous to Nigeria?
Yeah, but the good thing is that through research, it has been domesticated.
Right.
And we have it even grown in Niprid. And for over 10 years, a lot of studies have been carried out on it, including the toxicity profile and its efficacy. And as I sent you in that brief, observational studies were also carried out in HIV/AIDS patients, and it showed remarkable, efficacy in terms of acting as immune booster.
Right, so it wasn't actually developed for COVID, it was developed for HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, initially.
But now you're adapting it.
Of course, like the whole world in science, a lot of drugs are being repurposed.
Absolutely.
And, the scientists in Niprid also went to the table and discovered that this Niprimune can also be repurposed for Niprid. And that's exactly what we have done, what the scientists in Niprid have done. And as we speak today, from the clip I sent you, the photograph, it has been listed by NAFDAC. And we're at the point of going for clinical trials with that Niprimune.
When you say listed by NAFDAC, NAFDAC, of course, is the drug agency that approves the use of drugs in Nigeria. When you say it's been listed, what do you mean? Does that mean I can go and buy it?
Listing is, the category of registration with NAFDAC.
Right.
Which means they're certified that for safety, it is safe for human
Right, but it is still going through clinical trials.
Yes, it has not gone through clinical trials.
Right.
Yeah.
You've tried it on animals.
Yeah, we tried it on animals. We tried it in humans.
Right.
As I said, observational studies, and it was carried out in some, teaching hospitals. So it proved. And in some other places, Andrographis paniculata capsules are available. So it's not a new product per se. So its safety in human has been established.
Right. So when you say it's available in other places, that suggests that you didn't actually develop it then.
No. When we say it's available, of course, if it's available in India and you don't develop here, you don't have your own here. As I say, the plant was domesticated, and from the plant that was domesticated in Nigeria, scientific studies were carried out to see how it relates to that which is coming from the original place of abode. Right. And it's at par. So it's out of the indigenous one that this Niprimune, as registered trademark, has also been developed.
Right, okay. So what is the value of Niprimune with regard to the current COVID-19 infection that we're having all over the world?
Well, you know that the basic thing about viral infections, it has to do with immunity. If your immune system is high, if your immune level is high, there is most likelihood that you will not contract COVID-19. And of course, for people who have a compromised immunity, any immune booster will be able to suffice in terms of potentiating the the health outcomes of the individual. So it's on the basis of that we are now repurposing it for use in COVID-19.
So how long are these clinical trials going to take?
Well, clinical trials, it has, of course, since it's a product that has also been used, it's not new to human. We expect that the second stage of clinical trial, which is what we want to go for now, will take about maybe 1 to 2 years. And then, but after that, depending on the results and then the data that we collect in terms of volume of people that are being used, then accelerated approval can also be given. And then the third stage of clinical trial continues. As it is being used, then, the studies on side effects and other things, can also be collated.
So why did you choose to go with Niprimune rather than trying to go for a vaccine that would prevent this? I mean, was that the low-hanging fruit, as it were?
Absolutely, low-hanging fruits. Vaccine development takes a good number of years. And
well, it hasn't taken the rest of the world a good number of years, has it?
Sorry?
It hasn't taken the rest of the world a good number of years,
yeah, but Charles, what is coming out now did not start today.
That's a good point.
Some of them started
during
the Mid-East, severe respiratory depression. And, because that was short-lived, tempo, dropped. But with this now, a lot of people picked up from where they stopped. And that's how we're able to get to where we are today.
Right.
So in the case of our institute for now, there is what we call P3, P4 laboratory. And for anybody to be able to do studies in terms of viral activity and all that, you need a P4 laboratory. But I can tell you that with the recent development, National Assembly also came. I must say that we give kudos to them.
I was going to mention that. They gave you 40 billion naira.
It's not 40 billion. That was a typographical error, and I pointed it out. So
I like that.
It's 2 billion.
Are you sure it's not 40 billion?
It's not 40. Of course, if it's 40, we would have been shouting hallelujah everywhere.
So what is it?
It's 2 billion.
So how can 2 billion, I mean, I thought you were going to say 4 billion.
No, it's not.
And then an O got in.
No,
I mean,
no.
2 billion and 40 billion, they're quite different in terms of typing, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know how the printer devil, you know, or
Yeah,
the
but
computer
I
devil
was
came.
looking at the article. Not only did it say in its headline 40 billion, it quoted your Director General on a couple of occasions mentioning 40 billion. They actually
No,
had an interview.
We
with the
had
director.
addressed that. It's not 40 billion, I can tell you. It's not 40 billion. It's not 40 billion.
Right. So it was 2 billion.
It was 2 billion.
And according to that interview, he was quoted as saying that this is the biggest allocation that you've been given. Is
That 2 billion is the biggest allocation so far.
well, that's ridiculously
It's the
small,
biggest- it's
isn't
the
it?
biggest
For a
allocation.
research agency.
It's the biggest allocation so far. And we're dancing when that one also came, because that is the first time. And as I was saying, out of that, the first tranche that has been released, as contracts have been given for equipment, and we are
Right.
trying to upgrade, you know, the laboratory up to P3, you know, to be able to do some, you know, works in
Right. So when we look at that 2 billion, is that 2 billion allocated specifically for equipment and research, or does that include the normal things that you
No,
know, the salaries and all the rest?
No. Equipment and research.
Right.
Equipment and research.
Well, that's a good start, isn't it? I mean, it's not a brilliant start, but it's a good start.
And I must give kudos to the young man who is there, the Director General. You know, he has been,
Obi Adigwe.
He has
Yeah.
been able to prove his mettle. You know,
Well, he's an intelligent young man.
quite-
We've had him where you're sitting a number of times.
oh, okay, thank you. So he's been able to do a lot, you know, trying to attract funding into that place. But as you rightly observed, you know, research and development is quite a huge thing. And so in addition to what, you know, National Assembly have done, we are also appealing to Nigeria that even philanthropists, another well-meaning,
Should come in and help.
Nigeria should come
Okay,
and
we'll
help.
talk a little bit more about that.
Fine.
Stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the chairman of the board of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, Dr. John Alfa. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Enyekulu. Now, according to the Director General of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, or NIPRD, the institute received a 2 billion naira subvention, that's around $5 million, for the first time in its history. The money was based on the appropriation efforts of the National Assembly, and apparently the NIPRD has begun putting it to good use. The institute is not only buying new equipment, it's developing a new immune-boosting drug known as Niprimune, which it says has shown remarkable success in animal tests. It was originally developed by NIPRD for use in HIV/AIDS treatment, but now it's being repurposed for use in COVID-19. The clinical trials are just beginning, but so far toxicity and observational studies have shown Niprimune to be safe for use in humans. And with me in the studio, the chairman of the board of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, or NIPRD, Dr. John Alfa. Thank you for staying with us. Just going beyond this particular drug, the expectation, of course, is that the Nigerian Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development will be doing a lot of research to figure out, for instance, why the coronavirus seems to be affecting people less in Nigeria and in Africa than in other parts of the world, or is that not part of your remit?
Well, being a drug-oriented and product-oriented development organization, agency, yes, when any topical issue come on board, yeah, we can also develop protocol to be able to unravel what the
the reason I'm asking you that,
I can tell you.
Go on.
Yeah, that is not. Other scientists are working in that area, but That
you mean other scientists in Nigeria?
In Nigeria are working,
right,
towards unraveling that.
So just remind us of what the point of the NIPRD is and what its remit is.
Oh no, the point. Sorry, come again.
Remind us of what the point of the NIPRD is and what its remit is.
The points of in terms of our core mandate.
Yeah, what's your mandate? That's what I mean by what the point.
Yeah,
is.
that's right. The core mandate is to conduct research into drug discovery and development, both conventional and then the ones from phytomedicines. We also have the mandate even to go into biologicals like vaccines and other things. We have the mandate to also set quality standards for evaluation of both pharmaceuticals and those from phytomedicines that are being imported into this country and those that are being produced.
Yeah, but I thought that was the job of NAFDAC. Do they come to you and say, do the research, do the evaluation, and then give you a recommendation to us?
Yeah, that's
or do they have their own?
They have their own laboratory, but we are also working on that collaborative partnership because particularly in the area of phytomedicines, NIPRD is well suited for that purpose. And we have had some, discussions with NIPRD and with NAFDAC, and they also agree that yes, in terms of a capacity for evaluation of herbals, the NIPRD is it. So that working relationship is ongoing. So
well, it sounds, and I don't mean to be, rude or anything, but it sounds as though NIPRD is to some extent being sidetracked, because you hear a lot about NAFDAC, but you don't hear anything about NIPRD. You've been around for many years, decades in fact, and still no major breakthrough in terms of the production of medicines. If you go to Cuba, for example, they're leading in medicinal production. Vaccines, meningitis, and so on. So they're world class. And I'm wondering what has actually stood in your way.
Yeah, Charles, thank you very much for that comment. The past is the past. Right. We are now on the verge of re-engineering, re-strategizing, and moving forward. So that some of the scenario we presented will now be a thing of the past. As I told you earlier, there are so many projects in terms of research that are going on right now.
Tell us about some of those.
Yeah, some of those are, there is a lot of resistance to antibiotics, and a lot of work is going on in terms of developing, antimicrobials from indigenous plant materials. There are also, of course, diabetes is still a huge thing. We are working in that area too. Hypertension is still a huge thing in Nigeria. So a lot of projects are ongoing. And when it comes to the time to also let you know, just as we're letting you know of NIPRD, of course we'll come back to you. So what you are inviting me to be here today is actually, we really appreciate it because we also have to tell the world what NIPRD is doing. As I speak with you, there are some basic work that has been done in the area of starch, for instance, which is one of the excipients that is used in pharmaceutical production, tablets and all that.
Absolutely.
Even cellulose derivatives, a lot of them are still being imported. And we say, hey, look, we have these things in abundance here. And some studies have been done. Right now, there is an equipment which we have in NIPRD, and we're trying to do a pilot scale production of starch. Pharmaceutical grade that we can say, oh yes, pharmaceutical company, you can come and take this from us. And then we'll get to the point of commercialization. Then, cellulose derivatives, hydroxypropyl methylcellulose, ethyl cellulose, and all that. Those are excipients that are used in pharmaceutical formulations. And so NIPRD is strategizing, towards developing those excipients. When we have all those ones, of course, it will boost local drug production in Nigeria. And another thing is API, active pharmaceutical ingredients. In fact, that is very dear to my heart. As we speak today, if there is any block, and then we are not able to access active pharmaceutical ingredients from any other place in the world, it means we are grounded. And so we are saying that even if it is paracetamol and some basic ones that we can also come up with, why not? So that plan is also on. And as I said, once we have the correct equipment, we are good to go because the expertise is there.
Right. There seems to be a sense of, and again, I'm not trying to denigrate your organization. I'm trying to get more information about it. I mean, there seems to be a lack of a sense of what is a priority. I mean, you're talking about all these things that are sort of all around the place, and one would have thought that the point of having a pharmaceutical research institute like yours is for the institute to be doing groundbreaking stuff on diseases that are endemic to this region, such as malaria, for example. I mean, by now there should be perhaps a vaccine for malaria or something along those lines being developed by NIPRID, shouldn't it? I mean, you've been around since 1987.
Yes, Charles, point of correction and point of information. When you mentioned that, we are trying to go into this, go into that, you also mentioned the fact that why, do we have, low local pharmaceutical, low level of indigenous production. And I'm giving you some of the factors that are responsible for that.
I understand.
Those that are being imported, of course, I'm giving you the broad base. You ask of, the things we do, and I have to give you a broad-based classification and themes of what we do. So all those areas you mentioned, like malaria, for instance, a lot of work has been, we have Niprimor, which is an anti-malaria. Is because we are talking specifically or more about COVID that I didn't mention that.
Yeah, but that drug is out there and people can buy it.
Of course, it's also, awaiting, clinical trials.
Right, so it hasn't actually become
it has
available to the public.
So we have quite a number of products. And when we came on board, we said, okay, your NIPRID has developed quite a number of products. Let's get them, registered with NAFDAC, and so that we can, do the clinical trials
and then take them to the next step,
to the next level.
Okay. So I want to congratulate you, by the way, for what you're doing, in spite of the difficulties you face. Dr. John Alfa is the chairman of the board of Nigeria's National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead, including we analyze the latest bloodbath in Niger, part of a wider crisis fueled by militants linked to Al-Qaeda, Islamic State and other insurgent groups in the region. Stay with us.